All right, let's dive in. The world of business can feel like it has its own secret language, full of jargon and concepts that can seem, well, a little overwhelming. But today, we're going to crack that code. We're going to build a clear blueprint to help you understand it all, from A to Z.
So what really makes a business tick? It's not just about having a killer product or a brilliant idea. Underneath it all, business is a language. It's a vocabulary for creating value, finding customers, and building something that can actually last. So think of this as less of a dictionary and more of your own personal Rosetta Stone for that language.
Here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 4 parts. First, we'll lay the foundation of value. Then, we'll talk about winning the customer. After that, we'll look under the hood at the engine of operations. And finally, we'll explore what it means to play the long game. Let's get started.
First up, the foundation of value. This is all about the what, the absolute bedrock of any business. We're talking money, measurement, and the core stuff that makes a business worth anything at all. You know, before you can start dreaming about expansion or flashy marketing campaigns, you have to answer a really simple but massive question. What do you actually have to work with right now? And this is where the language of finance becomes absolutely critical.
And that begins with accounting. Okay, I know, stay with me here. This is not just about crunching numbers. Think of accounting as the official language of a business's health. It takes everything a company does, every sale, every expense, and translates it into a story that anyone can understand. It's the absolute bedrock of transparency and control.
And here are 2 words that often get mixed up. Revenue is the big number at the top. It's all the money pouring into the business from sales. But profit? Well, profit is what's actually left in the pot after you pay for everything else. The cost of goods, salaries, rent, you name it. Profit is the bottom line, and it's what really counts. The story that shows you this is called the P&L, the profit and loss statement. Next up is capital. And when we say capital, most people just think of cash. But it's so much more than that. Capital is everything a business has in its arsenal. Yeah, it's the money, but it's also the skills of its team, its brand, its patents, its relationships. It's the whole shebang, every resource it can use to create value.
So you've got all this capital, right? But how do you know if you're using it well? That's where yield comes in. Yield is basically the ultimate scorecard. It's a simple percentage that tells you how good your business is at turning all that capital into cold, hard returns. A high yield? That means your business engine is firing on all cylinders.
Okay, on to our second section, winning the customer. We figured out the what, so now let's focus on the who. This is all about how a business takes the value it's created and connects it to the real world to find its people.
I mean, this is the core challenge, isn't it? You could have the most amazing invention in the world, but if nobody knows about it or nobody wants it, it's basically worthless. So the real question is, how do you find the people who need what you have? How do you connect with them?
Well, it's a journey, and it unfolds in a few logical steps. First, you have to figure out your target market. Who are you even talking to? Then you build a brand, a story that's going to connect with them. Marketing is how you get that story out there. And finally, sales. That's the magic moment where you turn all that interest into the revenue we were just talking about. You know, in today's crowded world, every customer is asking one simple question. Why should I choose you over all the others? Your unique selling proposition, or USP, is the answer to that question. It's that one thing that makes you different, that makes you better. And a powerful USP is what lets you stand out in the noise. All right, let's pop the hood of the business for Section 3, the engine of operations. We've got our value, we've got our customers. Now let's look at the how, the nuts and bolts, the internal machinery that makes it all run day to day.
This is where the rubber really meets the road. It's one thing to have a great idea and a line of customers out the door. It's a whole other challenge to actually deliver on what you promised over and over again without any hiccups. That's all about execution.
So think of all these as the gears inside that engine. They all have to turn together perfectly. Operations is about being efficient. Workflow is about making sure tasks happen in the right order. Logistics gets stuff from A to B. Human resources manages the amazing people making it all happen. And quality control makes sure what you're delivering is actually good. When they're all in sync, the business just works. So how do you know if that engine is running smoothly? Well, you look at the dashboard. And in business, that dashboard is made up of your key performance indicators, or KPIs. These are the specific numbers you track, things like weekly sales, customer satisfaction, production time, that tell you if you're on the right track to hit your big goals. Now, a huge part of operations is negotiation.
You're constantly negotiating with suppliers, with partners, with customers. And it's not just some kind of natural talent, it's a science. Frameworks like game theory help you think a few steps ahead. And BATNA? BATNA is your secret weapon. It stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. Put simply, it's your plan B. Knowing when you can walk away from the table gives you incredible power.
And that brings us to our final section, playing the long game. This is the what's next. We're zooming out from the day-to-day grind to look at the big picture, vision, strategy, and how a business actually survives for the long haul.
This is maybe the toughest question of all, right? Being a champion today is great, but it guarantees nothing about tomorrow. Markets shift, new competitors pop up, customer tastes change. So how does a business stay relevant and make sure it's still around in 10, 20, or 50 years?
You have to think in stages. Right now, it's all about entrepreneurship, seeing new opportunities and forecasting what's on the horizon. For what's next, you need a smart growth strategy, and you need to back it up with investment. And for the future, you have to understand your company's valuation, what it's ultimately worth, and maybe even form alliances to secure your spot.
So what gives a company that lasting edge? It's X factor. There's a great little framework called VRIO that helps us pin it down. A real advantage has to be valuable, it has to be rare, and it has to be incredibly hard for others to imitate. But that last one, O for organized, is the clincher. You can have a secret formula, but if your company isn't set up to actually use it, it's useless.
And we end our A to Z journey with zoning and compliance. I know, it sounds like the most boring topic, pure red tape, but trust me, in the long game, this is huge. Good compliance isn't a cost, it's a strategic asset. It's your official license to operate, and it protects you from the kind of legal and reputational disasters that can wipe a company off the map overnight.
I want to leave you with this really powerful idea from the economist Joseph Schumpeter. He talks about creative destruction. It's this idea that business is never static. It's always moving, always changing, with new ideas constantly destroying the old ones. The blueprint we've just walked through, it's not a fixed map. It's your compass for navigating that exciting and constantly evolving world.